Big spells, okay. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 23 here. Can you believe it's the 23rd one?
2, 3.
I know,
2, 3.
pretty wild. The Michael Jordan
2,
one.
3,
The Michael Jordan.
yeah.
Yeah. For some of you, that's amazing. So for some of you, the 24th one's going to be the best. Jordan versus Kobe. Anyway, so hey,
Michael.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, so today's title is called "Victory in the Valley." And it's very, very fitting for those of you that follow us. And if you're watching this episode, you probably do. You probably see our shorts, which means you probably saw Krista's story and testimony yesterday. So what we're going to be talking about today, we thought it being super fitting, and also going through a milestone that I have today that I'll bring up here in just a minute, is Victory in the Valley. We thought was just absolutely perfect. And we're going to talk about how that we grow most during our trials. I would even venture to say we only grow during our trials for the most part. And so, Krista, I'm going to let you have the floor here for just a minute or so and just kind of recap some of your stuff.
Yeah, I'll just recap some of it. Most of you probably saw it, but in case you know, the internet is weird things in case you're just finding us today or this is coming up for the first time on your feed a month from now. Or
I'll put a link to your video too, by the way, in the
whatever. I will just quickly go over. So I have been struggling, and it comes and goes. That's part of what I have with. Sometimes my legs my brain tells my legs to move and they just don't move like I want them to. So as you can imagine, that's been quite heavy, and the process to find out what is wrong has been quite the ordeal as well. I've had 3-hour MRIs, like legit 3 hours long at once, and things like that. So finally, I was referred to a neurologist, and that neurologist is very familiar with something that I have, which is 1 in a million, and it's called stiff person syndrome. And so now we're on just on the path to find out what kind I have, how severe it will be, and just trying to find a plan so that I can live as best of a life as I can.
Yeah. We'll be documenting the entire journey as well, just because we feel like that it's very powerful, and we'll get more into that as we go along.
Right.
But something else that is today, and I teach Krista about this, and I told a bunch of friends this morning in church, this happens every single time, whether it is my 200th or 300th or 500th day of complete sobriety and complete sold out life to my Savior Jesus. 800 days today. So 800 days and a few hours ago, I finally, I don't want to say stop being dumb. That's not really a fair word. There's millions upon millions. I mean, this is a real struggle for everyday people. It's the reason we started this ministry. And what's crazy was what God's done for us. Like, that's why I started the ministry, right? It has branched out like you would not believe. And just God's given us a voice. And he's also putting people in our life to just do this life with and kind of experiencing this. We're partnering with some really good people. He's setting this up one step at a time, which is just absolutely awesome. And it's fun to be a part of.
Another part of my whole everything is that was a valley for me as well, 100%. And I think that's a valley that many people who partners of addicts don't get to talk about a lot, because the focus kind of stays on the addict. So for my end, that's part of my ministry too. This episode today is so fitting for so many reasons.
It's kind of wild how it all just fell together. It feels ordained.
God has anointed us with this calling. But we're going to get into more of that during this episode.
Yeah, we most definitely are.
Yeah.
And so what I'd like to touch on with you is, like I said, we had that video as well, but I know we'd be diving in deeper today versus in the video. Diving deeper and talking about this and how it applies to your life. So something I want to ask of you, and I want you to be vulnerable and open with all of this, whether it's grief, anxiety, or fear. And maybe you don't even remember all that well, but once that diagnosis kind of sunk in, because I remember it was on our anniversary in no shocking fashion that we went to the doctor. We got this diagnosis on our 9-year anniversary.
We did.
And so I could tell it hadn't quite really hit you. You weren't really emotional. You're just kind of like, it is what it is. But then the next day, you were a disaster.
And I think in order for me to share exactly what was going through my mind, I have to share from what I was feeling before as well. So the tough part for me had been my body's doing all these things, but the people around me don't understand. And I'm very bad about being vulnerable, and I think that's part of what God's growing me through right now.
Yeah.
I'm bad about being vulnerable. I'm bad about asking people for help. I like to be very independent. So prior to the diagnosis, so many times there was shame in it too, because it can be embarrassing. It can be embarrassing when I can't walk. And you know, I'm 47 years old, and because of my physical limitations, at the same time I've put on some weight, obviously, because my body just doesn't. And so then I thought, oh, people are going to think that I'm walking like this now because I've gained weight. And it was just a psychological thing. And then people just don't understand. And why don't people understand? And trying to hide it was probably my biggest thing. And that was it could be so exhausting at times, because I would have to have a plan. Like if we are going to, last summer, for example, I went on a work trip, and just trying to plan, how am I going to navigate all this walking, and without letting everyone know how vulnerable actually in my body is. So there was that part of it. So when I got diagnosed, it was a catch-22, because then it was, oh, I have some validation. I can really hope that people start to understand the seriousness of what I'm going through, and that's important to me, especially for my church family. I needed that validation so I can have some support because I'm so bad at asking for support, and I really knew that that's what I needed. Their prayer, and they have come through 112% already.
We're so blessed to have the church family that we have.
The words that they've sent me, the encouragement has been amazing. I did not want to cry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'll take over.
No, I got it.
Are you good? Okay.
And so, so then I get the diagnosis, and that was my first thing. Just like, oh, finally, I have some answers. I have, I know that there's going to be a plan to try to get me to live the best life that I can. As far as the fear that comes in, the fear is, there's a lot of fear. If you, I'll be vulnerable and say, if you watch the Celine Dion, because that's the same thing that Celine Dion suffers from, and she has a huge documentary on it. And there's episodes in the documentary where her whole body is contracting so badly. That's part of this. That's really the root of stiff person syndrome. Your nerves tells your body, your muscles to contract, and they just are constantly contracting. And at times it's worse than others. There's triggers for it. But there's a scene in there where her whole body is contracting so badly that she can't move, and it's almost like a seizure type thing. And do those thoughts run in my mind that I could get there? Of course. But at the same time, I know God's telling me that I'm strong enough to handle it. I am, no matter what this road is, that God's got me. And I think about the valley of that I went through with your drinking. That was a valley for me too, of course. And I think about how God got me through that. So God's not done with me yet. God's going to get me through it.
He's going to use it. And
He's going to use it, for sure. So that's my vulnerability there. My vulnerability is that I have to put aside my pride, because, there might be times where I do have to walk with a walker or something. So that might be something that comes down the road. There's going to be times where I have to say, no, I can't do that today. As much as I would love to join you for this amazing activity that there's going to be a lot of walking, I just can't today. There's going to be times where I'm in the middle of some of those activities and I have to say to the people around me, my body has decided to quit. I'm going to have to come up with a plan B here. All those things, and coming to terms with that is difficult. I'm not going to lie, that part is difficult. But like I said, my eyes are on God. My eyes are on praising Him despite this, because I know He's an amazing God. And I know that He has His reasons for this. And God doesn't give you more than you can handle. So I know that God thinks I'm a pretty big, I don't care, I'm going to say it, badass.
He doesn't give you more than you can handle,
right?
And He doesn't, He equips the people. It's similar to the video, the chosen one that we're going to get into later.
Right.
It's going to make a lot more sense. With
right. And like I said yesterday, I definitely feel like I'm a James in this story.
Yeah.
Because I have a heart for people, and that's not going to go away. I'm not going to feel so sorry for me that I stop seeing the needs of people. I love people. I'm going to continue to help them. I went on for a while there, but yeah. That's
okay.
That's where I'm at as far as being diagnosed. Now, as far as my life as a wife, I feel like Brian has always been very, very helpful. He's always been a giver. Like, he's gotten my gas in my car for me before I go to work since the beginning of our relationship. He has gotten my coffee ready for me since the beginning of my relationship. I think I pray for him because this is going to be an adjustment for him too, because there's just going to, there's obviously times where I need water 3 times and I need you to go, or I've forgotten something 3 times that he needs to go downstairs for. And he's just worked a full day too, but my legs just aren't allowing me to do it. And so I pray for him for that.
Told you the stairs were bad.
As a mom, I pray that, my kids are at peace and my kids don't get all bent out of shape and terrified that something terrible is going to happen to their mom, because I'm standing on, I fully believe that's not going to happen. Now, do I know that my life's going to be easy and smooth sailing? No, but I do not believe that this is the end. I just believe it's another part of my testimony, and I need my girls to come to terms with that too, because as I've said before, my girls aren't exactly in the right relationship with the Lord. And so I'm praying that that watching me and watching my strength and watching Brian and I work through this together, that will help bring them to the Lord too. That I think that's a part of this. I think that's another part of it. And I think that's another part of it for some of my other lost family members too. I'm standing on that, actually. I'm standing on that in God's name. Okay?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
As far as my job as a teacher, I think that God's just going to handle that. God's going to handle that well. That kind of stress does trigger it, but that kind of stress isn't my stress that I carry as much anymore, because I've become accustomed to that stress. So that stress, that would be stress to outside people, but it's really the everyday norm in my job at this point. And last year, I don't feel like any of that really triggered me. That day-to-day work stress did not trigger me very much last year. As far as my ministry, our ministry, I'm super excited actually about this, because it's so rare. I think that it's going to bring people who are suffering from this to our ministry. It's going to direct them to our ministry.
For us to bring faith into it.
Right.
Yeah.
And help them have some faith too. And just, that always multiplies big time. So that's where I'm at as far as the major things in my life with this testimony.
Yeah, well, and kind of what I gathered from that is, so this whole episode we're talking about how where you learn the most, you grow the most throughout all of your pain. And I've told you this, and I've been speaking this into you for a while. I've seen you come out of your shell a lot in the last 3 or 4 months. And I think that is simply because once we started down the path of going to see like our 9th doctor now or whatever that it is, once you started doing that, I feel like you started releasing some stuff to God. Like you started letting go of some things and being like, you're in charge, I'm not. I don't know what's up. And I had to do that too, because I'll tell you why. First of all, I am go, a million miles an hour all the time, every day. And this obviously slows her down completely. And even when she was at her normal, it's still slower. And so it's really frustrating to me to sit there and watch her suffer and know that there's absolutely nothing that I can do about it. And it's mysterious. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? And she's like, I don't know. And then I'm just sitting there watching her writhe in pain. That is unbelievably frustrating for a husband that loves his wife to watch that kind of stuff happen all of the time. So I learned a lot. So my point is, everything that we've learned, the ways that you have grown, the way that our ministry is growing, the way that God is putting people in front of us to speak with, to help, just all of the way that this movement is growing, I attribute it to the stupid things that we had to go through that made us better at everything. And it also increased our reliance upon Him as well. And so I'm going to bring up a verse that I'm sure that everybody knows.
Well, before that, I wanted to touch on just one more thing. The other part is there could easily have been I feel sorry for myself, why me again, because my childhood, there were some traumatic things that happened in my childhood. Then I got married pretty young, and there was some pretty big betrayal throughout my first marriage. It was very, very heartbreaking. I think that was what set me away from God for a long time. Just my pain through that. Through that betrayal, I became a mom of 3 young girls that were super young. My whole world was ripped out from under me at that point. I was a stay-at-home mom. We just bought a beautiful home, and it was, a marriage of betrayal that happened a few times. So it was painful. And then I went from that to, Brian and dealing with his addiction. And so then it would have been easy for me to then get a diagnosis where there isn't a cure, a diagnosis that has a possible of not having great outcomes. It's not fatal in of itself, but there are things that are very scary that come along with it. Definitely can alter your life and how you live. I could have easily just said, that's it, I give up. But the difference between before Christ and after Christ is that I know I don't have to walk it alone, and I won't walk it alone, and I know that God's got me. And as crazy as that sounds, because I know that there's a lot of Christians who have just gotten or a lot of people who have gotten to the point where God has failed me again. You see it as God failing you again and again and again. I know now from the last valley that I was in, I know now that God uses those valleys for good. He turns them into good. And so that's what I have held on to. So my questioning, why me? I don't even allow myself to go there. I know why. It's because I have a very strong testimony, and I'll say it again and again, that I feel like I am a James in this story. And I know that this is just going to strengthen our ministry. And so that's where I'm at.
Good. Okay. Yeah, well said. So I'm going to go back to this Bible verse we were just talking about. I think it still makes sense what we're talking about here. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Almost everybody knows the 23rd Psalm. You see it pasted at gas stations all over. Most houses have it somewhere in there. Even, whether they believe in God or not, this is one of the more common quotes in all of the Bible. So I want to touch on why we grow most in our trials. And I've got very, very strong feelings on this, like even outside of the Christian world, things like all the books that I read, and like Thomas Edison, for example, like it took him 10,000 times to get the light bulb right, and everybody around him was like, you've tried, you failed 9,000 times. He's like, I haven't failed 9,000 times. I found 9,000 things that didn't work.
Yeah.
And, that's the approach that you have to take. And so getting more spiritually mature, that happens whenever your life is crazy, whenever you have to depend on Him more, put pretty much plain and simple. And so, even Jesus' own ministry, was marred by persecution and suffering
Yep.
and all of that.
And that's
So
ironic because that's a part of it too that I keep telling myself, like, have I had a lot of suffering? And I haven't even told you everything because I can't tell you everything.
yeah, right.
I have to protect people around me that I love and care about, so I can't disclose everything to everybody. But I can use those things one-on-one with people, and I do. But that's the thing I keep telling myself too. Who am I? I mean, look how much suffering Christ had to endure. So who am I, right?
Indeed. Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely true. And all that we can really do is tell our story of what he's done for us.
Right.
Like that's our whole mission as human beings, quite honestly, is to lift him up, glorify him. We are creators with him in us, through us. You know, he creates with us. And, you know, we learn when things are bad and it stinks. We don't want the bad to come, but when it does, we get better at the end. That's why comfort is nice. It'd be nice to lay around and just get better by doing nothing. But that's not a law of the universe. It's not a law of our Lord. And that's just not how it works. And so what are some of the lessons you think that you can learn in the valley there? Like, what are some things that like big ones?
For me, big lessons this time. Okay, so my last valley, I was so isolated. Oh man, I didn't turn to Jesus. I didn't turn to friends. I was just so isolated. So I think the biggest lesson this time, it's twofold because, and then he delivered us from it, and looking back at, and this is something that you'll learn as a Christian. So if you think it's crazy right now, just trust us, okay? And so looking back now, what I know is that God had a plan for all of that. I'm not saying that God allowed that to happen, but what happens is there's a battle of our flesh, right? We have free will, and God knew our path before we were even put on this earth. And while I don't think that God caused me to go through it, my flesh actually, you know, and Brian's flesh actually caused us to go through it, I do think that he allowed it for a purpose of where we are now, for our purpose of our ministry, for those things. So that's also where I'm at with my diagnosis. I feel like there's a purpose for it.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. I feel like I can't imagine not praising God through it. God is amazing, and I want that for everybody. And I want because I'm not alone, and I feel comfort in Him through it. I feel like I keep feeling like Him saying, and He will put people in your life that are Christians as well, who will reinforce the same thing. And everyone's reinforcing what I already feel, which is this is just another part of my testimony, and that will reach people for it, and that it may not be easy, and maybe that's the point, that it's not easy. So you know, you can witness me still praising God through it, because I am going to praise God through this no matter how it goes. Because I don't live for today, I live for eternity. And so that's it.
Okay. Yeah, and I think one of the best things that happened, and this happened with you too, your identity gets refined, you know, and you're not defined by illness or by struggle, you know, instead of, because, you know, back in the day, you'd be like, hey, that's Brian. That's an alcoholic. There's Krista. There's a cripple. No, what I am is I am a child of God that has a problem.
I'm a child of God. God does not care if I said this yesterday because he says it in the scene that I'm talking about in The Chosen. God doesn't care if I'm fast. God doesn't care if I walk with a limp.
Oh, he cares about your heart and your willingness to say yes.
He cares about my heart and my willingness to say yes. And what's crazy is absolutely... Okay, so on the flip side of that, last Sunday I told you guys that I'm going to go out of my way to be kind to people every day. And I have still, despite this week, have done that. And what's crazy is I started out with, you know, I'm going to try to go out of my way just to be kind to one person a day. But I go out of my way, and it's like I'm being kind to multiple people, telling random people I like their shirt, telling random people I like their hair, just random things. And it's been from strangers to family members, which has been crazy to me too. So those things are still going on, and I don't know. It's just
you're being refined.
I'm
like
being
by definition,
refined.
yeah, it's crazy. Which leads me to a couple Bible verses if I can share those. Like a big one that jumped out to me for this was 2 Corinthians 12:10, and I use this all the time. Is that when I am weak, then I am strong. And it sounds really, really goofy, especially on the outside looking in. You know, if you're not a believer and you're like, hey, what are these two clowns talking about? When I am weak, then I am strong. What that means is that because my total and sole reliance is upon Jesus and not myself, because I know that I can't do anything. Yeah. So whenever I am weak, I become strong because I have to rely upon Him, who happens to be the strongest force in all of the universe. And so that's why He honors people that admit their faults, that realize that they can't do everything. Because at the end of the day, I'm just a broken dude who needs Him badly.
Right.
And He works with that. He doesn't work with the people that think they have it all figured out.
Right.
Doesn't need any of those people.
And that so applies. You can probably relate to that more than anything, because where would your addiction be without Christ?
I'd be dead. I mean, like, there wouldn't be an addiction. There'd be a corpse.
You're not strong enough without Him.
No. And that's the whole premise of getting together, you know, whether it's an AA or whether it's a Celebrate Recovery or whether it's the program that we're actually kicking off here next month that we're going to be talking about here pretty soon, is that the whole thing is centered around the fact that you can't do this.
Right.
You can't do it. Not on your own. Not on your own. And I'm not even talking about the support group that comes with it, which is well and good, and that's life-saving all on its own. But I'm talking about you realizing that you can't do anything and that you need to get hooked up with something or somebody that can. And that is admitting, when I am weak, then I am strong. Like, that's exactly what that verse is. Another one that I love so much, and you can claim this, I encourage you to read this whole chapter of Romans 5, but we'll just go through verses 3 and 4 right now. But this goes on and on and on, and it makes sense. Like, a young child can understand this. Suffering produces perseverance. And perseverance produces character. Character produces hope. And so suffering can either, like she said, it can make you lay down and just, you know, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with crying about it. Whenever I say laying down and crying about it, I'm insinuating doing absolutely nothing about it and just giving up.
Right.
That's the opposite of what that's not what a creator does. That's not
mad at God.
Yes. Yeah, just getting mad. Suffering, if you look at it right, you look at it from the right perspective, like this 40-day challenge that I'm doing right now. I'm changing the way that we think because that worked for me, and it changed the trajectory of my life and made me successful in so many things.
Even Jesus, you know, cried out to God.
Yeah, of course. He was
crucified,
crying so hard he was sweating blood.
He was still nervous, and he was still upset, and he even, you know, had that conversation with God.
And suffering, suffering produces perseverance. That is the point of that. But I do encourage you to read all of Romans chapter 5 because it goes on and on. There's several levels there. And it makes perfect sense whenever you read it. I glossed over it a whole bunch, and a few months ago during a Bible study, somebody brought that up, and I was like, well, that is a lot more powerful than I remember that being. And that's how the Word of God works. And so, just kind of moving along here, Krista, I just want to give some encouragement for people that are listening. I want to speak some words into you guys that are out there. And so, one thing that I've noticed, and you have too, if you go up to anybody and you're like, how can I pray for you? Or what are you going through right now? Almost everybody's going through something. Everybody's going through crazy stuff. Everybody is suffering in one way or another. I don't care what social media looks like. I don't care how awesome that it looks like, that everything is going for, you know, life on you know, it's speedboats, juicy fruit, Sprite, and like water slides. Like, that is fun, but it's also not real life. And so I want to talk to you people out there that are suffering physically, emotionally, spiritually. And I just want to tell you that that valley that you're in, that is a womb. It's not a tomb. And I think that's just such a good quote. Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's a mic drop moment. It's a womb, not a tomb. And what I mean, a womb is where you are being forged, you are growing, you are being fed, you're becoming something tomorrow that you are not today.
Yeah, and
that's just so beautiful.
And that's my whole thing. That puts everything that I said yesterday in my video into perspective. Mm-hmm. It's a valley, not a womb.
Not a tomb.
Yeah. I mean, not a tomb.
Yeah. It's okay.
It's a womb, not a tomb.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly it, and that's the mindset that I have with the whole thing.
Yeah, and you're right. And so growth, it often feels like that you're breaking down, but God is building something eternally in you. Let me just equate it to you dudes out there, or girls. that love working out. You love working out. And if you want to put on muscle, what do you have to do? You have to go in the gym and you have to work out until you almost throw up or get really, really sore. And what is that crazy, crazy sore feeling that you have for 2 or 3 days? What is that? That is you breaking down your muscle, putting things into your body to build that muscle bigger and better than it was the day before. And that's what God does to our souls every single day. So whenever you think that this is like a life-ending problem or that it's something that you're never going to be able to overcome, switch that perspective instead of saying, why me? And then say, thank you, it's me. How can you use this? How can this bring people closer to you? How can your love be portrayed and shown in a more powerful way because of what I am going through? Don't make this about me. I'm making this about you, but you're going to make it about me to make it about you. Mm-hmm. And so, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Kind of rambled there for a few, but so, let's talk about victory. I love talking about victory. It's one of my favorite things. I love victory songs. I love victory verses. I'm just a victory guy. Love winning. And so, what is being birthed through all of this? We were talking about a womb, not a tomb. Mm-hmm. So when that is actually birthed and you come out of the other side ahead, and you may not ever come out of the other side of this. You may have this entire life, but what is going to come when you finally come to grips with that this is a ministry tool? And I feel like you already have, by the way.
Right.
But so what was that like being birthed? You know what I'm saying? Like the bright light, your first look at your new world.
What's funny is the longer it went on, that this went on without answers, because then after I had my, now think about this. I go through a 3-hour MRI, which is excruciating because I'm serious. It was 3 straight hours in that MRI machine, and it wasn't as I prayed and I closed my eyes and I had praise and worship music on the whole time, and it was funny because at one point I even picture Jesus peeking through that. If you've never done one, there's a little bit of room for you to see outside. And I always picture Jesus as a sense of humor with me. He and I
he's hilarious.
We have a sense of humor type relationship. And I kind of pictured him as a kind of like cartoon looking character almost. And he's peeking in and he's just like, what's up? And
was it the medicine they gave you before?
No.
Okay.
And then at the very end of the 3 hours, I had the praise and worship music on, and the song "God's Not Done With Me Yet" played on, and I had really never really heard that song, so I thought, wow, that's pretty cool.
Did we hear it? We just gloss over it.
Right.
You don't really listen.
So I thought that was really, really cool, and so that was the very beginning. And then when that came back and the spine doctor said, we're really not seeing anything here, which was crazy because the spine doctor was really, really, really highly certain that it was going to be something in my spine. And but when that came back and there was nothing there, and he said I had to go to a neurologist, I'm like, okay, great. And then he said the neurologist would probably need to do a brain MRI, and I'm like, oh, another one. I said the 3-hour one was already my second one.
The first one was like half an hour.
Yeah, the first one was like a half an hour, and I am claustrophobic. So let's just say
2 minutes or 3 hours. That's not fun.
Yeah.
Regardless.
And so then when the neurologist, and man, when it was, I don't remember when the spine doctor appointment was because I'm just talking about how long I had to wait to get into the neurologist.
It was 3 months ago.
It was like 3 months before I could get in. And so I'm just thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to have another 3 months without answers and without medicine to help me.
It's frustrating to both of us, just not knowing.
I can't, because I can't commit to things that have long walks. I can't walk around the block. Sometimes I have to come up with a strategic plan. Like if I need to run into the grocery store, can I park next to a cart corral so I can have a cart to help me? And those are on the bad days, but you never know when a bad day is going to happen, and I never know when something is going to trigger me. So that's where I was at the very beginning. So then to go to this neurologist. Now, I felt like the neurologist kind of, between my notes, the spine doctor had taken some video, and I'm pretty sure that the neurologist had seen that video. I have like very active reflexes, and the spine doctor was very interested in that because that's kind of unusual. And between that and all the notes that the neurologist had,
in the 3 months he had to study him before we even saw him,
before he even came in, I think he had a pretty good idea already of what my diagnosis was going to be. And so I say all that to say that I think that because I have something that's 1 in a million, because I've already got all these things that I can minister to people about some other things, and because God gave me a heart for people, between all of those things, I think that this diagnosis is just going to open our doors to be able to touch more people.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do. And I think that it's also going to show that I'm not kidding when I say, it's funny because between the spine doctor appointment and this appointment, I think it was Sue Davinger, but I'm not positive. I'm sorry, Sue, if it wasn't you. Somebody posted a clip from The Chosen, and not even knowing, they just posted it to their own Facebook page. And that was the clip. It was James, coming with his cane to Jesus like I talked about yesterday. And Jesus' whole response was, yeah, I could heal you, but think about how more powerful it is if people are watching you praise me despite the fact that you're not healed. And
do you know what's the most powerful thing to me about that? Is that the way that you take it is that he trusts you.
Yes.
He trusts you with this problem because he knows. And he said that we don't trust many people. When he says we, he said me and the Father.
Right.
We don't trust many people with this.
And that's what blows me away.
He trusts you.
What is blowing me away with this is that God trusts me with this ministry because I have been through a lot, and that's all I can think of is, man. And when I say that, I think that God
we have been
thinks I'm a badass. God made me a badass for this purpose, and I just feel, and I know that sounds crazy, but I feel just so blessed. Like little old me, Krista Crouch, you chose me for this.
Yep.
You made me strong enough for this. This is my purpose and my calling, and this is what I'm walking through. You trust me to walk through this that, I'm sorry, but I don't think many people could. You chose me to walk through this for you, with your help, of course, and you trusted me to be strong enough to lean into, to be vulnerable enough to lean into you enough, to trust you to lean into you enough. Me? And so that's what I hang on to too. And and how could our ministry not grow? Because God anointed us for this.
Yeah, agreed.
And God put us together for this. I
know it. Yeah.
I know it. Brian is very blessed in the Bible, very blessed in being able to preach and teach the Bible. He's very blessed and reached that initial contact with people. He's very blessed in helping people keep important. I think together we're just a dynamic duo for the Lord, and He has anointed us for this. And that's not, I'm not singing our praises. Trust me. To God be the glory. That's what's blowing me away. I hope you see my humbleness. I'm totally, completely humble when I tell you, and you'd have to be humble for me to be like, oh, thank you, God, for blessing me with stiff person syndrome on top of everything else that I've already been through. It's me being humble and saying, okay, God, okay.
Whatever you want to do.
Wow. You've called me to something way bigger than I know, way bigger than I can imagine, and I am here for it. I am your vessel because I'm living not for today, I'm living for eternity, and you know that I know that, and you know that I can carry that. And so that's what I think that this is going to birth to our ministry.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and I kind of go back to mine as well. It's been like 800 days now, and so it still is really, really, really fresh with me. I know as time goes on, that things kind of change a little bit and all of that, but it's still very at the forefront of me because I know it helped to make me who I am today. And I think, excuse me, I think we got all of that kind of, I don't want to say out of our system, but we laid the groundwork for that, to where I think that took us to a certain level to where we could do ministry on a certain level. And then our marriage started getting better. And then this happened to you. And so we have like a trillion stories, as it turns out. And so here is why this ministry is flourishing and is going to continue to flourish, because me and her say yes to God. That's it. I'm being serious when I say that.
I've been hesitant to be as vulnerable as I should about some things that have happened to me that I know for a fact. I know that I need to be a little more vulnerable for to help people. And the reason I've been hesitant is because I really wanted to pray about it. I don't want to damage my children. And my children have a wonderful, their dad is a good dad. He's a completely good dad. But there are things in that part of my life that I need to be a little bit more transparent about, so that I can use it to minister. I'm past those things. God has delivered me from those things. I'm on the other side of those things. But that's another part of the ministry, and I think that all of this is bringing that to the forefront of, Krista, trust me, I will take care of the other things if you start to be more vulnerable with these things, because I brought you through those things for this purpose.
For that reason.
And for that reason. Okay, indeed. So I'm going to start to be more vulnerable with some of those things without throwing people under the bus, without causing damage.
That's good. So if I could sum all this up in just one little quote, a bite-sized nugget that I think you guys can take home with you, probably, it's that victory, as we talked about it, victory, it's not avoiding the valley, which we as humans try to do all the time. We try to avoid pain. It's built into our DNA. But it's not avoiding the valley, it's finding your purpose in it. No matter what happens to you today, no matter what you see, do, hear, touch, or taste, it's not an accident. It's not a coincidence. There are no coincidences. You are where you are for a specific reason, and God has something for you that only you can do in that situation. So I just want to encourage you with that today, and so I just want to ask you a couple questions here as we go. Do some deep pondering. What valley are you in right now? Because you're in a valley. I don't care who you are. You probably, and if you're not, kudos to you. If you're not in a valley, one's coming. So you're either in the middle of it or you just got through one.
And it doesn't matter if your valley is deep. You do not have to be diagnosed. Not
at all, right? It doesn't have to be life-altering.
With a neurological disease.
It's a problem that bothers you.
An autoimmune disease that's not curable. That's not.
Hopefully, that's not your valley.
Hopefully, that's not your valley. But your valley matters. No matter what your valley is, it matters to God.
And no matter what it is, He can take care of it.
And no matter what it is, He can take care of it.
Small or big.
Yes.
Yeah, and so also be thinking about not only what valley are you in, switch your perspective instead of the woe is me approach. And I want you to ask yourself, where is God trusting me? Where are these growth opportunities? Like, through all of this, it sucks right now. Whatever you're going through, I know you're like, whatever, I just want out of this. Switch that perspective, and I want you to think, how is God making me better? How is He making me better? That's how muscles get bigger. That's how brains get smarter. That's why we study. That's what flashcards are for. Think about it. You're burning that into your brain because you're learning to become better than you were before. And so I would encourage journaling. I journal like crazy. I know Pastor Andy will talk about this. I'm trying to get you to as well. You do somewhat of an equivalent, I would say, on your phone. You know, journaling can be anything. It can be saving bookmarks of YouTube videos that you found that you like. It can be doodles on your laptop. When I say journaling, what I'm talking about is getting things from up here somewhere else. I encourage prayer. I think I'm becoming sort of a prayer warrior to some extent, just because I talk to God all the time. It's becoming such second nature that I'm talking to Him like you're sitting right next to me. And so that's what prayer is, talking to God and sharing your heart, having that relationship. Leaning into community, the small groups.
And I'm going to talk on that one.
Is the most massive. Yeah, go ahead, touch on it.
That for me is something that I've had to learn. That is not easy for me. I do not like to be vulnerable to people. I just don't. And I have been through things where I just carry them alone. And like I said, that's part of what I wanted to start this ministry to begin with, because I carried so much alone when I was in my valley when He was at his rock bottom. And nobody should have to experience that at all. And the difference this time is that the very first day I had the diagnosis, I reached out to the people that I knew were the closest to me before because I was really debating on how I was going to handle it with the kids at first. And so at first I was just, reaching out to a very small group of people. But guys, when I tell you that God anointed the words because they're Christian friends, okay, just let me be clear. When God when God anointed the words that they put through me, that was God speaking to me through those friends.
Yep.
And if you don't have that small group of Christian people, then you're not going to experience that in your valleys. And it's a very important part of it. A very important part
indeed.
of it.
I mean, it's huge. It's so much. I'm going to put a QR code on this video. I'm going to overlay with a QR code to our circles page at our church. We have an awesome setup of small groups, whatever you're going through in life.
And we're getting ready to relaunch in August, so be looking for some of those to change.
There's going to be a whole bunch more. So we'll definitely keep you updated there. There's going to be all sorts of links in the description here below as well. And so I wanted to hijack a scripture for the Pastor Andy spoke this morning in his awesome message. He is such a good preacher, man. He's so anointed. And this comes from Hosea chapter 2, verse 15. I will give her back her vineyards and will make the valley of Achor a door of hope. So what that is saying is through your faithfulness, through your trust, through your growth, God is going to hook you up in the end. I'm not talking about physical things, He's not going to get you a jet. What he's going to do is give you that peace and that understanding. He's going to bless your life. He's going to bless your family. And you may get a jet. I don't know.
It's better.
But the point is, don't be looking for a
jet.
jet. And it is. Yeah. At the end of the day, it is better than a jet because if you can't walk, like what good sitting on a plane going to do?
You know why it's better than a jet? It's better than a jet because, again, I know that what I am doing here today is just a small part of the
Very
story.
small. Yeah, we are minuscule
And I
parts of
know
this.
that I am not living for today. I'm living for eternity. So.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. And you've got to get to that point too,
You've
or otherwise.
got to get to that point.
Yeah, it's hard to make any kind of decisions at all. So, and just wrapping this up, I just want to reach out to you guys and say, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to it if you want to keep getting this. I'm doing a daily challenge with daily videos right now. Krista fired hers up yesterday, so we're going to be pumping out a lot more content to just help you out in little bite-sized chunks.
Yeah, I'm going to be documenting my entire journey.
Yeah.
And that's two reasons. One, just to be encouraging. I'm going to be vulnerable with you. If I have bad days, I promise I'll be vulnerable with you about those. But the second part of that is, it's so rare that if I can help somebody else who's suffering from stiff person syndrome, that's good too. So just be looking for that.
Awesome. Yeah, very, very cool. And so down below, we're going to put a link to our YouTube channel. I'm also going to put a link to our website. Our domain name's a little bit long, conformed-to-transform.com, kind of hard to type out. And the whole goal is to get people to come to the YouTube place anyway to see what we talk about and also join our community as we launch this ministry that we're doing in person. We've been doing these podcasts. We're going to continue to do those. But when we start having group gatherings next month, we want an easy place to come together. If you're excited about this, if you've overcome something, I know 3 or 4 people personally that have overcame this addiction as well and have insanely powerful stories. And I see them being a part of this ministry. So we're just trying to grow this community and just trying to help people out that think that they're less than, that think that they can't do it, that think that God can't use me. Wrong. Absolutely dead wrong. God will use you. All he's looking for is your yes, whether you're 3 years old, 140 years old, can't walk, can't talk, can't sneeze, can't burp, whatever. He will use you if you are willing, and he will do things with you that you could never even possibly imagine. And so that day 10 video is coming from me on my 40-day challenge here in just a little bit. I wanted to mention that as well. Krista's going to have some more stuff coming, and we love you guys so much. Like, to us, this is part of our journaling. This is us getting it out. This is our creative outlet, and we're just putting it out there and praying that God ordains it and blesses it and puts this message where it needs to be heard.
And I will say, as far as me, how you can pray for me, just be praying that, as the Mayo Clinic comes to take my labs next week, that those labs come back as good as we can expect.
Yeah.
That we can get a plan in place pretty quickly. Like I said, my meds have started to help, but I have a long way to go. There's some other things that I definitely am going to need some help with. And just pray that God puts the right people in the right places and the right, whether it's clinical trials because it's so rare or whatever, that I'm involved in the right ones and not the wrong ones, and just discernment as we move forward. And I would appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Definitely be praying for that. And also for peace, no matter what those results say and show.
Of course.
Which it's nerve-wracking for anybody.
It is.
Like, I hate that. So I get blood tests every, it's every 6 months for my diabetes stuff.
Yeah.
And it's been awesome. God has blessed me. Like, everything's tip-top, but I'm just, every time you open that email, you're like, you're just waiting to look at those numbers and just be like, please let everything be okay. It's nerve-wracking. So we love you guys. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We'll be back next week with episode 24. I like to call it our Kobe episode.
Yeah.
I got to say it, episode 2-4. That's right. This was episode 2-3. Wrapping up. She's so bored with the Kobe talk. She's yawning. That's fantastic.
No, I'm just.
And so,
but
all right. Anyway, you heard some beeping earlier in the episode. That's my chicken. I'm going to go eat that. So we love you guys. We'll talk to you later. Have a great afternoon.